If the God, the creator of heaven and earth says, I want this to happen, and we go, sorry, Lord, not right now, because that, who are we to say that? So look, I'm not saying this is easy, because there will be persecution. There will be people who hate us, people who call us names. There will be those who are offended, and it will hurt us when people that we have grown in relationship with leave. But it will always be for the greater good, because God said so. And again, I'll make that statement again. The answer to a million questions, what should I do here? Be led by the Spirit of God. And just the little bit of experience that I've had when it comes to being led by Him, I can say it's always the right option. It may not look initially like the right option, but it is. It is the right option. Is that okay? Yeah. That's a little bit off the topic of healing, but I'm hoping it encourages you. If you're in the middle of a season where you're going, Lord, I don't feel like what you told me is actually going to work. It feels like it's just words on paper. It's all hot air, but I don't see anything, Lord. Stay with it. Because if He said it, it is the best. It's the best possible option, best possible route that you could take to see His goodness in your life. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Good. Good. So let's go around offending people. Hold on. Yeah, we could take this the wrong way, can't we? All right, we're going to look at a few people who approached Jesus with 2 out of 3 faith. Their faith is broken. They're persuaded about something. They're in faith about something. However, there is also an element of their faith where they're not persuaded. They're uncertain. They are at variance with themselves. We're going to look at some of the definitions of this word, doubt. And we're going to see how they approached Jesus, what was wrong with their faith, and how Jesus helped them. That's pretty cool, hey? There are lots of cases in the Bible where we see Jesus healing. If you look in the book of Matthew especially, great crowds followed Him. He preached the gospel, cast out demons, healed the sick, and they were all healed, and that's all He gets. And there's almost nothing you can learn from that. But there are cases when individuals, or maybe 2 or 3, maximum 9 people, approach Jesus. There's interaction, there are words spoken, and from that we can get some real gold. We can see we can learn some stuff from that. See how we can minister and receive healing for ourselves. So we're going to look at Matthew 8. Get you guys to do some work. I might get you to do some jumping jacks in a moment. You might get offended. Well, if the Holy Spirit tells me to, it's too bad. I'm watching a guy named Rodney Howard Brown. I'm a big fan of his. He sometimes he could be a bit more tactful, but he's not scared of offending people. He's great, and he's a mighty man of God, and I'm inspired by his ministry. Okay, so this is the story of the leper who approaches Jesus. Straight away, we get some clues as to how this healing is going to happen. He approaches Jesus, which means what kind of healing is this? Push or pull? Pull. It's a pull healing. Yes, pull healing. So if the sick individual, initiates the healing process, they are responsible for the healing results because they are going to pull on the healing power of God by their faith. Now, as much as we look into this, you could read the Bible from cover to cover, and you just read through these accounts and go, wow, Jesus, that's awesome. You healed that person, and not really look at the details. The reason that I'm able to give details about how this healing took place is because I've read Matthew through to John and Acts, and back to Matthew through to Acts, back to again 9-10 times over the last few years. And I've specifically focused on the healing accounts. Why? Because I want to become knowledgeable about how healing works. And you know what happens? You're reading this healing account and you go, I remember seeing that in this healing account. That's a theme. That's important. And then what I do is I go out and I apply that theme, and guess what happens? People get healed. And you know what's really fun? I'd love for everybody to get to experience this. You're reading the Bible one day and you go, that happened the other day. Cool. And you're starting to see stuff that's in the Bible happening in your life. Why? Because you're seeing some keys to how God's kingdom works. If you read through it like it's a history book, you miss some of the vital things. We've got to dig. Didn't Jesus say that? The kingdom of God is like a treasure hidden in a field, and the person who found that treasure sold everything so he could buy that field. This is how God's kingdom works. We need to dig. We need to recognize how precious, how valuable these tools are, that they're not just immediate, you don't just look at the Bible once and get everything. You've got to dig. and you read over and over, and you see something that you didn't see the last time, and then this next time you go, I didn't see that either, and revelation upon revelation takes place until you've got some really cool keys. And what I'm sharing with you is revelation the Holy Spirit's been given me. At the same time, I don't imagine that what I'm saying you're going to all get straight off. Some of it might be, okay, that's cool, I didn't see that before. But as you listen to this teaching again and again, you might pick up some things that you didn't see before, just like I did. Does that make sense? Some things you might get like 4 or 5 degrees of revelation, but I know with the Holy Spirit that He sometimes doesn't show you something until you've applied the first 4 or 5 levels of revelation He's given you. Is that fair to say? Cool. Right, so Matthew 8, verses 1 to 3. This is His faith that's important for results to be seen. Verse 1. When Jesus had come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed Him, as per usual. And behold, a leper came and worshipped Him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Then Jesus put out His hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. Immediately his leprosy was cleansed. Very short passage, really only 2 of those verses are applicable to this man and him being healed. So, I really want to emphasize that this man's faith was crucial to him being healed. It's not apparent at first, but we'll look. So far, when it comes to the pool healings we've had, the first one we looked at was the woman with the issue of blood. Do you remember that? And we've even looked at Mark 5:34, and Jesus said, daughter, your faith has made you well. So what was crucial for her to be healed? When she touched Jesus, what came out of Jesus? Power. How did that power come out of him? Her faith. Like a magnet, drew the power out of Jesus. Then Jairus, we looked at Jairus, remember that? Jairus and his daughter, and Jairus approached Jesus, pleading with him, please come home with me. When you lay hands on my daughter, she will live. And Jesus recognized faith. And what did Jesus protect as the people came to Jairus saying, hey, don't worry about this, don't worry the teacher anymore, your daughter has died. What did Jesus protect as they moved from that place all the way till they got to Jairus' daughter's bedroom? His faith. Remember, he said to Jairus, don't fear, only believe. When all the people were mocking Jesus because he was saying, hey, she's not dead, she's just sleeping. What did Jesus do with these people who could have damaged Jairus' faith? What did Jesus do? He kicked them all out. He was protecting Jairus' faith. Good. Now with the centurion and his servant, when the centurion approached Jesus, Jesus said straight away, I'm going to go home with you. The centurion said, stop, no. I'm a man under authority. If I say something, it happens. You, Jesus, just say the word, and I know my servant will be healed. And what did Jesus command in the centurion? Great. I've not seen such great faith in all of Israel. Now we're going to look at, a bit later, we're going to look at the nobleman who approached Jesus about his son who had a very intense fever. And we're going to see there's a very close connection between the nobleman and his faith and the centurion's faith. It's not immediately apparent, but when you look at it, you go, wow, the nobleman actually had great faith. The fact that his son was healed from a distance, just like the servant of the centurion was healed from a distance. We'll get there. I'm whetting your appetite. But we see time and time again, Jesus either acknowledges a person's faith, or as we're reading the story of the person and their actions as they walked up to Jesus, we see faith in action, it's implied. Now, we did talk with push and pull healing. When it comes to push healing, a person's faith isn't important. Now, I do want to say that again because I know a lot of people listening to this will go, no, hold on, Daryl. I know when I ministered to this person, they weren't in faith and they got healed. And I go, great. That was a push healing. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about pull healing, healing that you attract, the power of God that you attract by your faith. And we need to get your faith up there. We need to build your faith. We need to help you to understand what faith is, how it grows, how to activate it so that you can pull on the power of God to get into your body, to change what is not right, what is broken, and make it whole and healed. Is that okay? So this man has approached Jesus. What kind of healing are we talking about? Pull healing. What is crucial for this man to see results? Faith. Is it 2 out of 3 faith that he needs? 3 out of 3 faith. Again, that means he's heard about Jesus. He's fully persuaded by what he has heard, and he steps out on what he's heard, recognizing that there's hope, there's a possibility of him being healed, And there's a moment when his faith is activated, when he pulls on that power like you would pull on steel with a magnet. All right, so verse 2 of Matthew 8. You guys okay? Mm-hmm. And behold, a leper came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. All right, if you are willing, you can make me clean. Is this leper fully persuaded? I've got a shaking of a head here. No? Well, let me ask the question this way. Is there anything that this man is fully persuaded by? That Jesus can heal. He is fully persuaded about Jesus' ability. Is that correct? What is he not fully persuaded about? Is Jesus willing? Now, understanding leprosy, first century Israel, this man is considered unclean. Whenever he would walk around, he'd have to have either a bell or he'd have to shout out, unclean. So people knew, stay away from this guy, because leprosy, as far as they understand it, is contagious. You touch him, you get leprosy yourself. Can you imagine his life where he's been ostracized from society? He can't be with people. He can't have a family. If he does have a family, he can't be with them. So his self-esteem, we're only speculating here, but his self-esteem would be pretty low, I imagine. And he hears about Jesus. Jesus heals people. He can heal. He's able to heal. But no one wants to touch me. No one wants to be close to me. I don't even think Jesus wants to be close to me. But I'm gonna try. I'm desperate. Jesus, I know you can. I just don't know if you will. I don't know if you want to. Which is, look, we have a lot of sympathy for the guy, don't we? There's a lot of compassion that goes out for him. But the thing is, his faith is broken. His faith won't pull on the power that's in Jesus, will it? And we need to recognize that. We're going to go back to James 1. So hold your place in Matthew 8. Go to James 1. I want to highlight this. We've talked about this before in the very first lesson of this series, Be Healed. But I want to highlight it again, just so that as we read this, we don't walk away with no, this is purely Jesus' will and his sovereignty, and he healed it. He healed the leper just because he wanted to. He felt sorry for the guy. I want you to see that this was absolutely his faith. I want everybody here and everybody listening or watching to be 110% convinced that faith is what I need to work on for me to see results. God has moved. It's our move. How do we make that move? By our faith. So we're in James 1 verse 5. You there? Yeah. Good. If any of you lacks wisdom, this is James speaking in a letter he's written to the church. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. It will be given to him. Great news, hey? However, there is a clause, there is a footnote here. James is saying, all right, be careful. As much as when you ask God, he'll give, there's something that you need to be careful of. But let him ask in faith. There's that word we've been looking at for quite a bit of time. Let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all of his ways. And look, the first lesson we did in this series, we looked at some of the Greek words. We looked at diakrino and dipsuchas. I'm going to look at the word diakrino again, which is where we get the word doubting. With no doubting, for he who doubts, diakrino. And we have the Greek word means to be at variance with oneself, to hesitate, and to doubt. To be at variance with oneself, to hesitate, and to doubt. Now, what I'm doing is, as I'm explaining what doubt looks like, I want you to, at the same time, consider the leper. Is he approaching Jesus hesitantly? Is he approaching Jesus with a, I'm not too sure, doubting, wavering? The dictionary definition of the word doubt means a feeling of uncertainty or a lack of conviction. Is this leper uncertain? There's an area where he is certain. Do we agree on that? What's that area again? Jesus can. Now, this is something I want the church across the world to understand. We believe God can. Even the atheists believe, look, if there was a God who created this earth, yeah, of course he could fix your body. But they just don't believe there's a God. The church across the world believes that God can, but do they have certainty across the entire spectrum of God's will, his ability, They don't always have certainty. And if we look at this word, the Greek word diakrino means to be at variance with oneself, to hesitate, to doubt, and to doubt means to be uncertain and lacking in conviction. And what does James say will happen when we approach God with these characteristics? Verse 7, let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. And we talked about the word receive, which is from a Greek word that means pull to yourself. Like we've been talking about faith, like a magnet. Pull. You're not going to pull what God has for you. He's giving you wisdom, but you're not pulling it to yourself because your faith is broken. You're hesitant. You're lacking conviction. You aren't convinced of something. You can see how important this is. The leper is approaching Jesus lacking conviction. He's got a conviction regarding Jesus' ability, but regarding Jesus' will, he's lacking conviction. He is not convinced. He's hesitant. Is that fair to say? What is this man going to get if he stays in this state? His faith is not going to pull on the power that Jesus has in him. Remember, we talked about Jesus, 1 John 3:8, the second half of verse 8 says that for this purpose the Son of Man was manifest, that he might destroy the works of the devil. We know that Jesus was anointed with the Holy Spirit and with power. There's this power in Jesus. The man approaches Jesus with faith that's broken. And as much as that power is there to heal him, he's not going to connect with it, is he? Why? What were some of the words that I told you now? He's hesitant, he's uncertain, he's double-minded, he's lacking conviction. Yes, he believes Jesus can, but I don't know if he will. Is this a problem in the church? How do many people approach healing? I believe God can. Oh, I believe you can. And we sing songs. So it's good. It's good to believe God can, because if we don't believe he can, then we've got a problem. But we struggle with, I don't know if he will. And how? Yeah, will he do it for me? Yeah. How do many people often determine whether God will or not? They wait for results. If he did, then obviously it was his will to heal me. If I didn't get healed, then obviously it wasn't his will to heal me. Which doesn't make sense. Let me explain this. We've talked about how sin is the main problem in this world. And sin has fruit. Sin has consequences. One of the consequences, one of the fruit of sin is sickness and disease. If we take care of the sin problem, sickness and disease is gone. And that's what Jesus did when he went on the cross. He took the sin of the world. By his stripes we were healed. And by taking all the sins of the world, he took all the consequences of sin. The separation from, the sense of guilt, shame, all that kind of thing. Sickness, pain, he took it all so that we don't have to have it. So for us to say, well, I didn't get healed, so it must not have been God's will for me to be healed, is like saying that person died not knowing Jesus. So it obviously wasn't God's will for him to be saved. Do you get my reasoning? If we're going to determine whether healing is it's God's will to heal us or not based on the results we see, then we should do the same thing regarding people being saved. Is it God's will to save everybody? That everyone be saved, that no one should perish? We know that. Then results do not tell us God's will or not. Results tell us more than God's will. Results show us whether someone had faith or not. Now that's harsh. That's where we've got to be careful. When we tell that could offend people, that could hurt people. But we need to tell it in a way that's encouraging. If you didn't see results, when a person leaves this earth and they didn't have Jesus as their Lord, is it a God's will issue? Or is it their faith issue? They didn't believe in God. They didn't believe Jesus is the Son of God. They didn't believe Jesus died on a cross so that their sins would be forgiven, that they could be set free of sin and could come into relationship with God. It's the faith problem. When someone doesn't get healed, and I want to make sure that we understand this. I've also talked about the reasons that people can be sick. Sometimes people are sick not just because of natural things. Sometimes the enemy is at play. And we need to kick him out before we'll see healing. Faith isn't always the only way to get healed, but I'm talking to people where faith is vital. If we're going to see healing results, we mustn't wait for the results to determine what God's will is. I want to read this statement. The kind of faith that gets healing results needs to be certain of God's will before results are seen, not after. Can I read that again? The kind of faith that gets healing results needs to be certain of God's will before results are seen, not after. And what we're doing too often is we are only becoming certain after we see results. And we're going to look at a few things. We're going to look at Bible examples where we see Jesus not responding to someone's faith because they're only going to believe when they see results, especially regarding the nobleman and his son.
We hope this video has inspired you. The rest of this lesson can be found in the next video.